perfect pivot to Pakistan. And you also wrote about, or you promoted an article that discusses the possibility of the Taliban, newly empowered by the Biden administration, leaving behind tens of billion dollars worth of weaponry, that they are expansionist and they could very well expand to a nuclear power, a real country called Pakistan. Please talk to us about that.
Yeah, this is a real danger, and it's more of a danger now than it has been before, thanks to Joe Biden. Pakistan is a real country, like you said. I mean, you're talking about a quarter billion people in Pakistan, which is hard to fathom. I mean, how did that happen? But they're one of the few spots on Earth that still has a strong fertility rate, and they've just grown like weeds. And a significant percentage of that population is Pashtun, which is the dominant group in Afghanistan. They are riddled with Taliban, and that Taliban presence is very, very strong within the ISI, which is the Pakistani version of the CIA. So the Taliban has long had a lot more influence in Pakistan than we might like. The frontier areas are largely out of the control of the central government in Islamabad. And this is an ongoing threat because, first of all, you could topple that government. That government has been toppled more than once, but also because that government has between 170 and 200 deliverable nuclear warheads
Mm.
and the capacity to produce a lot more. So you could, in a coup situation, you could very readily have a major country with a major population and a major army and air force with nuclear weapons, one of the larger nuclear arsenals on Earth, in the hands of those lovely people in Kabul. And that's just unthinkable.
It is unthinkable, and it becomes even more unthinkable when you think about the great leadership of the former head of Pakistan's government and country, Musharraf. Going back to the early 2000s, what I guess one of the things we got right was the relationship that we had with Pakistan after the Taliban had facilitated bin Laden's attack on us, and it seems that we have gone a long way since those days in Pakistan. Is there any hope on the horizon that Pakistan can get control and have and be a responsible leader, a responsible global leader in the way that Musharraf was some 25 years ago?
I think so. They have to get a better handle on the Northwest frontier area. They have to avoid needless conflict with India. All of that is destabilizing internally. But in general, Pakistan doesn't have some huge desire to become a terrorist state. So if they do take appropriate steps, and they have a lot of things working for them, they have English common law, and they have a pretty good court system, and they have a lot of things that work to their benefit and advantage. If they can get a handle on this, then yeah, they can be a really helpful part of the community of nations. And if they can't, we could have everybody's worst nightmare very quickly. And of course, one of the ways that the Taliban would be inclined to solidify power in this much larger base would be to be much more confrontational with India. Now, the other side of this coin, and part of what's driving some of the problems, is that we're getting closer to India. During the Cold War, India was one of the leaders of the non-aligned movement and was actually pretty cozy with the Soviet Union. Their perception was that the Soviets weren't in great danger of colonizing the subcontinent, which may or may not have been true. But regardless, they tended to cozy up there. They tended to have a lot of arms agreements with the Soviets, and that proceeded after the end of the Cold War. Now that's all shifted. China is the real threat. India is directly threatened. The Chinese invade India
They've even
periodically.
had, yeah, they've even had some skirmishes on the border.
Yes, the Chinese are not friendly, and that's something that America is finally getting a handle on. This is a country that routinely threatens to nuke Los Angeles. Those are not our friends. So we're starting to see that, and the rest of the region is seeing that, and that's why you see this.
Including, ironically, Vietnam.
Yes, very much Vietnam, because the communist Chinese invaded Vietnam in 1979. That's the last shooting war that the CCP had. So Vietnam is becoming much friendlier with us at this point. The Russians just aren't really a factor anymore. You have this AUKUS grouping, which is Australia and the UK and the United States. That's valuable and in some ways an extension of Five Eyes and other groupings. But the really interesting piece is the Quad, which is us and India and Australia and Japan. And that is a very deliberate effort to counter Chinese growth and influence, particularly in the Indian Ocean and around the Straits of Malacca and Sunda and Lombok. And the Chinese are provoking a lot of defensive reaction. This is positive. The Indian need for the US consumer market is growing. That's positive. We're getting closer. But as we get closer, it tends to alienate Pakistan, and that is fraught with issues.
And that's the precious. Well, Rod, we could talk for the next hour. You are just a treasure trove of information and bold, innovative ideas. Promise me that you'll come back on the program in the future.
I'd love to anytime.
Wonderful. Thank you, Rod. That was Rod Martin, CEO and one of America's top patriotic intellectuals. Thank you for joining the program. And that ends this broadcast. As my father and civil rights legend Roy Innis says, that always promote your life with the principle of TLC, which is the foundation of this show. And yes, we love tender love and care, but what Roy Innis said when he was talking about TLC is truth, logic, and courage. And that is the foundation of this program. It's the foundation of Abraham TV, or TvAbraham, if you will. And we are so pleased to have Rod on as a guest, and so pleased that you joined us for this intriguing dialogue. May peace be with you. God bless.